All right, so now I go out the box, off script, as if there was ever a box. So I'm learning every day still, right? I'm never not learning. And so I opened this hymnal, and I think I'm good. I think I'm pretty spiritual and stuff. And I open the book, and we have our Declaration of Principles. And then in some books, you can purchase and have a remembrance of someone you love or your name or whatever in the book. And so I picked up this book, and there's a name in this right here that I'm not so comfortable with. And so immediately now I have to think, okay, I have to reset myself, because no matter what happens, what goes on, I should be comfortable with anything. Still, I have to address regarding this person right here. So again, it's always learning. I'm always learning, right? This phrase came up yesterday and last night, and I posted it yesterday. Sometimes I just post stuff because I'm asked to. I win or I learn. That's it. Now, if you can go back in your life, that's probably because you can remember and start looking at your events like that. Just go back. And so when you go back, then it should be a positive spin on anything. You either won or you learned. So if you go back in the beginning, it was you either win or you lose. You either win or you lose. So if you go back to the memory, you won, you feel good. If you go back to the memory, I lost, you don't feel so good. Right? And so go back, and you either win or you learn. So every time you go back, it's a positive experience that you're bringing forth. Right? All right, so that's one of these things. Thank you, sir, and I will work on myself. So probably my last lecture for 2019, so I have to go out with a bang, as if each one isn't a bang anyway. Okay, so I've been studying this for as long as I can remember, or as I thought I was conscious, or awakened, or whatever you want to call it. So, and the author is Robert Shapiro, right? He's a great teacher. So this is number 23 in the series, right? Here's what it looks like. And it is called Steps on the Path of Transformation, right? This one just came out, maybe a year or so ago, maybe a little bit longer. But the information was some of it was from like 2011. Right, and so I'm understanding that the 1/1/11 was a time frame when we created some path physically to the next level, right? So this is I suggest this one as number 23, and in this whole series, you don't have to read 1, 2, 3. Read that. What do you call that? In sequence, in numerical order, in sequence. You don't have to read that. So you don't have to go get 1 to understand what 23 is about. Because this is like energy. There's no date. Right? It's just energy, and it's going to work no matter when you read it or not. So, Steps on the Path of Transformation, Volume 1. And so when I read this, it sometimes refers to some of the older energies or the older books that you might just want to say, okay, I think I want to go back and look at that one, because I've read them all up to this point. That's a couple of them. And so, and I won't get into these here, but I'll talk about a little bit about it. The next one that you should have in your vocabulary, your library, is astrology, right? Planet personalities and signs, right? Planet personalities and signs. And so what this is, of course, this is channeled information. Robbie goes into a trance and records all this stuff through guides and, I don't want to say angels, but higher levels of consciousness who are looking at things from a broader perspective than we are right now, sitting in this human body. And so this one is he channels the planets, like the planet, Neptune, Venus, and very interesting stuff because we're all tied to these planets. If you're living right now, you're tied to all these planets astrologically. When were you born? Where was the sun? Where was the moon? Mars? And where was the Pleiades? So you're tagged with a certain vibration when you're born. And so all these planets affect you energetically, right? There's no way it can't because you were born into this universe with all these things already happening. So you are tied to all those planets. So they affect you. Like the moon affects us, we know that for sure. The waves go in and out. Full moon, people go crazy, right? We call it crazy, but they're just more aware of other things that are going on. So all these things affect you. So it behooves you to get into astrology at some point. And then the reason I like these books is because they don't just go into physical stuff, they go into spiritual stuff, right? Because I'm all about spirit in any shape or form, which means I'm all about everything there is, right? So these things are really good to have in your library where you can go and say, oh, I want to know what the energy of Venus is. And you can go and pull it out. A lot of this stuff you won't get online. You don't get little speaks of it, but this stuff to me is it has less almost human personality in it, kind of like our filters. We don't like this, we don't like that. I'm only this, I'm only that, and so it's good information to have. And so when you start using this stuff, it will take you automatically out of your box, right? Because it just home last night after the event, I grabbed this thing, and some of these I have to read all the way through. Like I'll be done with this in a week or two, just because it's like I remember all this stuff, right? And so this is the Christmas season, and it's okay to talk about Santa Claus. I never met that guy though, right? He didn't come to our neighborhood back in the day. Back in Barrier to Sell, right? But it's okay to talk about Santa Claus. It's okay to talk about the Grinch. Anybody ever met that person? No one ever met that person. It's okay to talk about him. The Easter Bunny. We can talk about that thing. Never met him. We can talk about, the Tooth Fairy. It's okay to talk about these things, right? But if I should bring up something like a being from a different planet, all of a sudden I'm crazy, right? Do we all experience that? Because I can't go anywhere and say, hey, I talked to this guy from the Pleiades. Let's go pick up something for Easter and the Easter Bunny, right? So there's somewhat of a double standard that we need to address ourselves, right? That's how you get out the box, right? And so when you start reading this stuff talks about beings that are 700 years old. They live 700 years, 700 to 800 years they live, right? And so when we start interacting with this kind of energy, it's different years. And so I'm communicating with somebody that lives 800 years. And so when they say, I love my kid, I would die for my kid. It's different than when we say, we're going to die for our kids. Because their kids are going to live 800 years. And ours won't only live so much. So we have to assimilate this different energy that we're going to be ingesting. All this stuff we don't hear in school or in church, but I'm sorry, we should be hearing about all these things. And we should be able to talk about the Pleiadians, the Arcturians, the Lyrans, the zetas, right? We never hear about these things in school at all, which is where, as young kids, we should be hearing these things, right? Then we know there are other beings, and then we need to realize that the cats and the dogs and the birds are also beings, right? So first off, you have to learn that those are beings to realize that, they may be other ones. We don't even think as them as beings. That's my pet, right? I kick my pet. We don't even think of them as beings. If we thought of it as a person, we wouldn't do such things, right? And so...
There's a lot of abuse.
There is, yes, right. That's because we don't understand that if I kick that cat, I'm pretty much kicking myself.
Abuse for humans by humans.
Yes, of course, yes.
So abuse
It's a crawl. Yeah. Yeah, we call it that for sure, yeah. But we don't realize that I'm part of that thing right there. That thing that I'm kicking or abusing, I'm part of it. And as I abuse that thing, then I'm pretty much abusing myself. We don't know that. That's why they do that stuff, right? And so some other things came up again, that I crossed paths with. And the other one is that we don't think of the animals as beings, so we eat them and we kill them, right? So as you start moving to perspective, then we will have less of that, because we will think of them as cat beings, dog beings. We won't think of them as animals anymore. We'll think of them different, because we don't. Right now, we don't. So this transformation thing is, we have a day-to-day self that we live all the time, and we're transitioning or transforming into bring and overlearn that over our day-to-day self. Right? We get that one? We live our regular life, and we have our soul life. And so this soul life, we're integrating into our day-to-day life. Right? We're not there yet. It comes and goes. Sometimes it takes a little longer than others. Right? So that's what the transition or this second coming that we're always talking about. Right? We're expecting this man or woman to come back when that opening is just, we're opening to our spirits, to our soul selves more. That's why Jesus did all these things. He was open to his soul self, living that day to day as your soul energy. Right? And again, so we all can do that. So I was talking about the animals. So at some point, we're going to realize that the animals are energy. Just like we're energy. Car is energy if you really look at it. It was made of something from hair that grew up and we transitioned into something hard. It's your car. Still, it has energy. Right? Everything has energy. And so as far as the animals go, we should realize that it's just energy. It's just information. Just like my nose is the same as my great-great-great-grandfather. So there's a line of energy that, right? And so it's same with the animals. So it's just a bunch of information that I have my nose because, in a quantum space, you can crunch a bunch of information into a small space. So I have energy. The animal has energy. And so when we eat that animal, we are ingesting that energy. We're taking in the energy, right? You understand how that's working. And so depending on how that animal, certain vibration that is with the animal. And so that's why people say, they don't even know why they say it. They say, oh yeah, let's get a grass-fed. The cow was able to go out on the farm and roam, and he wasn't tied into a little spot. He can't move. He just produces milk and meat. Right? That's why, because that energy, that emotion is built up in the meat. And so when you ingest, I'm not saying it's good or bad, I'm just saying when you ingest that information, your body has to assimilate, right, all the emotions of whatever happened to that animal, right? And if you can ingest the information and with love and, you know, not crazy about your neighbors and stuff, and love and joy, then that information is assimilated a little bit quicker. That's why people get sick, because you ingest the information and it doesn't go right out. It stays in your body. Whatever's in your body affects you energetically, right? And then at some point you get, my arm hurts, my whatever that is. That's just the energy can't go anywhere. It didn't fall all the way through, right? And so with all the antibiotics we're giving them to make these things fatter and do more milk, that's all energy. And we all have to ingest it, and then we have to assimilate it into our computer, right? And so we just be aware of that. That's why at some point you'll know that if you eat vegetables, they move through faster, right? If you eat an apple, it's probably going to come out that same day. But if you have a burger, 9 out of 10 chances, 2 days before everything comes in. And it's just, we don't ingest that energy very well. So at some point, once we start getting into the spiritual path, we will eat less meat. Only because it will slow us down at a certain point. It's like we're eating another being. So spiritually, we won't want to do that, right? And so we'll get what energy we need from certain, right? If we think we need food, because there are some yogis that don't eat for weeks or months, which means we don't necessarily have to eat food, right? It says, yeah, they live off light or the energy, because we can take stuff from right here that we don't even know about yet. Right? So we have to start thinking about these things energetically too. Like when we're doing table tipping, we feel energy before the table moves. Talking about how do you practice mediumship, you know, and she said, almost like when the phone rings, I try to guess who it is. Oh, when playing Uno, I try to guess what the next card is. That's how you're going to start honing your skills, because when you come up to the stoplight, right, you can tell when the light's going to change, because it's all energy. That's what we're going to start working. Red has an energy, yellow has an energy, green has energy, so we can tell. And then it's a physical machine, the lights are. So if you stand by the box, every time it changes, you can hear a click. You can hear a click. And so for that click to happen, something has to do it. And so that energy is in the air, and you can tell what that is. And so this is practice. I know it's going to change, because it's timed as well. It's, you know, it's a minute between lights or whatever, because it's a machine, it's a computer. So you can tell when that click happens. So that's how you're going to start playing with your mediumship. You know, who's that calling? How many times that phone is going to ring? You know, when is that light going to change? That's how you're going to practice. Because all this stuff is already happening right now. We just, our perspective doesn't see that, or we don't have that perspective. So we can't see it. That's why, and I always say this, that's why there are more ghost hunter stories and ghost brothers and shows like that on TV, because this transformation is happening, and we're able to see more of what's going on that's already there. Now we can see flickering lights, or sometimes you hear the sound or whatever it is. It's always been there, but we're transforming whether we like it or not. Some people will understand it, and some people will go crazy because they're in this box of I believe this, and there's all this that exists or what. Everybody's going to transform. There's not the universe is transforming, so you are not stuck. Everybody's going to transform. It's just some people understand the process and some people won't. That's why all this information is coming out. And this information is, I don't even know how to put it in the words. Sometimes, like, some of this information is 1,000 years of information. Because these people are living all these long lives and doing all these things, and we have access to all that information because they're all part of our energy, even without the books. Right? We have access to this information through meditation or just being quiet or just running, and stuff just comes to you. It's all there. Man, there's lots more to talk about. I feel like I want to start a class on this information, so we can move with it. It talks about these beings that are there to help us as we go into deep sleep. We go back to our home planet. As we go into deep sleep, we go back to our home planet, and their job is to, like, be a tube so we can go back, get a breath of that energy, home planet energy, and then we wake up and we're back. Is that new or what? It's like, right? So there's so much that we need to be aware of moving forward. And I always tell people, when I was coming up, I had to get these books because there was no other way. There was no YouTube. See all these lectures that these people are doing. Robert does lectures all the time. Cryon does lectures. Abraham does lectures. You know, there are new people coming out. You know, Michaela Sheldon. You know, I think it's called Awaken and Empowered TV. So all these things now, you can go online, and as you drive, listen. You can listen to the radio if you want, but I'm not too sure how beneficial that is. Right? But some people, it's about motion, and it's about this being that lives in the Pleiades, and he worked with us because our planet is a motion planet. It's like our planet wasn't here, it wasn't born here, it came here. And our sun wasn't here, that came here. And so this being is, it says we can only deal in motion. And now I understand why people do Qigong, because this motion is helping the planet and helping other people. With all those motions, and so it is so much information, but it's mind-blowing information because your mind needs to be blown, yo. Going into 2020, that's how you get out the box, right? You don't have to know this stuff, but I'm going to say something that's new that you haven't heard of, and my hope is that you go out and it's like, I want to get that book, and I want to do the research for myself. That's what I want to happen. If you want to help me study or what, you can want to borrow my book, sure. But this is something you need to know on your own. You can research on your own. You don't have a bus. You can do this stuff right at home. Right? And it's so beneficial. And if I were to recommend one author, it would be Robert Shapiro. Right? Absolutely amazing stuff. I've been reading this for years, and I love it because all the stuff that I've been reading, I've seen it come true. Right? And it's like a prediction, but a prediction only works if you keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over. I can predict what's going to happen. Anybody can do that and the prediction that says, if you keep doing this thing over and over and over, this thing will happen. As a human being, you can say, today I don't want to do that thing. Today I don't want to go straight. I'm going to turn right. And then the prediction, that prediction is over there. I'm over here. Not that it was wrong. It's just, as you keep thinking the same thing over and over and over, I can predict your future. You can predict your future, right? So I told you I was hyped. So let's see here. So I want to end the online portion. We can deal with those. And we had the happy Thanksgiving. You know, I always say Thanksgiving is every day. It's just not one day of the year. Just like Christmas, you're happy and you're joyful and you're giving. Let's do that every day, right? Where Christmas just is Christmas. even though it's my, somebody said baby Jesus' birthday, right? Every day. Jesus did all this stuff every day. He didn't just say on Sundays, I'm just going to do this on Sundays and I'm going to party and right? And again, so motion, I'm going to come back again the next time with a lot about the motion. Because I did karate and I always wondered, what are they doing as they're just so gentle and so they're moving energy. And that energy is helpful to the planet and to other people here and to other people elsewhere in the universe and in the multiverse because there are more universes, right? Just thought I'd throw some crazy stuff out there because I'm crazy. Let's do this. Thank you very much for joining.